My beloved child, before another second slips away, listen with complete attention, because what you are about to hear is not something most people notice until it is standing right in front of them. There is a reason your presence has left so many people quietly confused. Some expected time to change you in predictable ways. Others assumed your light would fade as the years moved forward. Yet every time they see you, something refuses to fit the story they created in their minds. They cannot fully explain why your appearance carries a quiet confidence that seems untouched by ordinary expectations. And that is where today's message truly begins. Have you ever noticed the strange pause before someone speaks to you? The second glance that comes without warning? The expression that says they were expecting one version of you, but met someone completely different? Those moments are not accidents. They are clues. People often believe they understand another person within seconds, but every now and then someone appears who quietly challenges those assumptions. You have become that unexpected presence more times than you realize. Stay with this thought, because the next piece changes everything. The greatest surprise is not simply how you look. It is the energy people feel when they stand near you. Appearance catches attention for only a moment. Presence keeps it. There is something about the way you carry yourself that refuses to match the limitations others imagine for your age or your journey. They search for an explanation. Some think it must be confidence. Others believe it is experience. A few convince themselves it is only coincidence. Yet none of those answers fully satisfy them. What if the real reason has nothing to do with chance? Imagine walking into a room where no one expects to notice you. Conversations continue. Eyes remain focused elsewhere. Then, slowly, without effort, attention begins to shift. Not because you demanded it. Not because you tried to impress anyone. Something quieter happened. Your calmness interrupted the noise. Your authenticity became impossible to ignore. In a world where many are trying to appear extraordinary, genuine presence has become incredibly rare. That rarity is what people remember. But here is the mystery few understand. Some people mistake timelessness for luck. They assume you simply inherited good fortune. They never see the unseen moments that shaped your character. They never witness the silent decisions that strengthened your spirit. Every disappointment you refused to let define you, every lesson you accepted instead of resisting, every time you chose growth over bitterness, those invisible choices slowly transformed not only your mindset but the way you naturally carry yourself. The outside eventually began reflecting the inside. Think about that for a moment. Could it be that the greatest change people notice isn't your face at all? Could it be the quiet certainty in your eyes, the peaceful rhythm in your voice, the calm way you move through situations that once would have shaken you? Real transformation rarely announces itself. It simply becomes impossible to hide. And that is exactly why some people feel unsettled around you. They remember an older version of you. They expected the same doubts, the same hesitation, the same uncertainty. Instead, they encounter someone who seems lighter, clearer, and far more grounded than before. They cannot reconcile those two images. Their expectations collide with reality, and for a brief moment, they wonder what happened while they were looking elsewhere. Wait a little longer, because this is where the story becomes even more fascinating. Not everyone who notices this change will admit it. Some will compliment your appearance. Others will ask what your secret is. A few will simply stay silent while trying to solve a puzzle they cannot quite understand. Yet beneath every reaction lies the same question: how did this person become so different without making a big announcement? The answer is beautifully simple. The strongest transformations are usually the quietest ones. Every season of your life has been preparing you for this moment. The challenges you thought were slowing you down were often refining qualities that cannot be purchased or borrowed. Patience, perspective, inner confidence. These qualities eventually begin shaping how the world sees you. Long before people hear your story, they sense its impact. Now ask yourself something honest. If strangers can notice this quiet transformation, what possibilities are waiting just beyond the horizon? What conversations are about to begin because someone finally sees you differently? What opportunities have been moving toward you while you were simply becoming the best version of yourself? Sometimes the greatest shift happens before a single word is spoken. Before today's message closes, remember this one truth. Never measure your value by the opinions that fail to recognize your growth in the past. The people who underestimated you were looking at an old chapter while your story was already entering a remarkable new one. They saw time passing. They never realized purpose was quietly unfolding. This is only the beginning. The next revelation will uncover why the people who once overlooked you are suddenly paying far more attention than ever before, and what that unexpected attention could mean for the path waiting just ahead. A quiet shift is already happening. And if you pay close attention, you will begin to recognize it in places where you least expect it. The world has a remarkable way of revealing change long before it explains it. That is why people who barely noticed you before are suddenly remembering your name, looking a little longer when they see you, or finding unexpected reasons to start conversations. They may not even understand why they are doing it. Something about your presence has become impossible for them to ignore. Here's the fascinating part. Many people believe transformation announces itself with dramatic moments. In reality, the most powerful changes happen silently. Like the first light before sunrise, they appear gradually until one day everyone realizes the darkness has already disappeared. That is the stage you may be entering now. Without realizing it, you have been building something that cannot be measured by mirrors, birthdays, or opinions. You have been building quiet influence. Think about the people who once assumed they already knew your future. They believed they had you figured out. They expected you to remain exactly as you were. Yet every new chapter has gently rewritten that assumption. Now they find themselves questioning everything they thought they understood. And that question leads to something much bigger. What if the reason your appearance surprises people isn't because you look younger or different, but because your confidence no longer depends on being noticed? There is an unmistakable strength in someone who no longer seeks approval. Ironically, that is often the exact moment attention begins to arrive naturally. Stay with this thought, because it connects directly to your journey. Imagine two people entering the same room. One spends every second hoping others will admire them. The other simply carries peace, purpose, and quiet certainty. Which one leaves the stronger impression? Time and again, life gives the same answer. Authentic confidence always outlasts temporary attention. That is why some people feel drawn toward you without fully understanding the reason. They are responding to something deeper than appearance. They are sensing consistency, calmness, maturity, a quiet belief that cannot be copied. And here's something even more surprising. Those who once compared themselves with you may now be comparing themselves to you in a completely different way. Not because you became someone else overnight, but because you continued growing while many stopped evolving. Growth creates distance. Not distance from people, but distance from old limitations. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many times have you underestimated your own progress simply because you were living it every day? We rarely notice our own transformation while it is happening. Others often recognize it first. They notice the steadiness in your words, the patience in your reactions, the calm in situations that once would have overwhelmed you. Those changes quietly reshape the way people see your entire identity. There is another layer to this story. Sometimes life delays recognition for a reason. If appreciation had arrived too early, it might have distracted you from becoming who you were meant to be. Instead, you were given something far more valuable, time to grow without applause. And now that invisible preparation is beginning to show itself in ways that even surprise you. By the way, if this message feels strangely familiar, or if it reminds you of someone who is quietly becoming stronger every day, consider sharing it with them. And if these conversations inspire you to keep exploring deeper perspectives, you're always welcome to leave a comment or subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Now imagine this. Someone who hasn't seen you in years crosses your path. They expected an old version of you. Instead, they find someone who carries a completely different energy. Their first reaction isn't spoken aloud. It's written across their face. They realize time didn't simply pass, you used it well. While others were waiting for perfect moments, you were quietly becoming the person they never expected to meet again. But don't rush ahead just yet. The next chapter uncovers something even more unexpected. It isn't only strangers or old acquaintances who are noticing this change. There are people much closer to your life who are beginning to see you through entirely new eyes, and their next decision may surprise you more than anything you've heard so far. There's one more layer to this story, and almost no one talks about it. The people who are suddenly noticing you are not all seeing the same thing. Some are inspired. Some are curious. Some are quietly wondering how someone they once underestimated has become so unforgettable without making any loud announcement. They search for an explanation, but the answer keeps slipping through their fingers because they are looking in the wrong place. Real change is never just physical. It begins in the invisible spaces where no audience is watching. It grows through quiet mornings, difficult decisions, unexpected disappointments, and moments when you choose to keep moving instead of giving up. Those moments leave marks that no mirror can measure. Yet somehow, they become visible through your expressions, your posture, your patience, and even the peaceful confidence in your smile. Have you noticed how people often pause before speaking to you now? That pause is meaningful. It is the moment when expectation meets reality. They expected to meet the person they remembered. Instead, they are standing before someone who carries an entirely different atmosphere. It is not louder. It is not dramatic. It is simply stronger. Stay a little longer, because this next realization may explain experiences you've already had. There are people who once overlooked your opinions but now ask for your advice. There are people who barely noticed your presence before but suddenly seem interested in hearing your thoughts. Some even remember details about conversations they ignored in the past. Why? Because people naturally recognize steady growth, even if they cannot explain what changed. The most remarkable transformations rarely demand attention. They attract it. Imagine standing beside a river. Day after day, the water flows without making promises. It doesn't rush to prove its strength. Yet over time, it reshapes stone itself. Personal growth works the same way. Quiet consistency changes everything. It reshapes your character until the world begins responding to you differently without realizing why. Now ask yourself one question. What if every difficult season you've survived has been quietly preparing you for opportunities that only this version of you could recognize? Think about that. If those opportunities had arrived years ago, perhaps you wouldn't have appreciated them. Perhaps you would have doubted yourself. Perhaps you would have walked away because you weren't yet ready to believe in your own potential. But something is different now. You carry yourself with less fear. You make decisions with greater clarity. You no longer feel the need to explain every choice to everyone around you. That quiet certainty becomes visible long before anyone hears you speak. And this is where many people become confused. They assume confidence comes from compliments. It doesn't. Compliments come and go. Confidence built through experience stays. That is why your appearance seems different to people. They are not only looking at your face, they are witnessing the result of countless invisible victories. Every challenge you overcame without applause became another layer of strength. Every setback taught you something that comfort never could. Every delay forced you to develop patience instead of panic. Every closed door encouraged you to search for a better path. Without realizing it, those experiences created a version of you that appears calmer, wiser, and more complete than before. Now picture someone from your past unexpectedly seeing you again. They expected familiarity. Instead, they discover surprise. Not because you became someone unrecognizable, but because you finally became fully yourself. That realization stays with them long after the conversation ends. Some will wonder if you've discovered a secret. Others will assume you've simply been lucky. Very few will understand the truth. The truth is that genuine growth is never accidental. It is built one choice at a time. One lesson at a time. One quiet victory after another. Wait until the final moment of this message, because the next thought connects everything together. There is a fascinating difference between attracting attention and earning respect. Attention can happen in seconds. Respect grows over time. People may first notice how youthful, confident, or refreshed you appear. But what keeps them thinking about you later is something much deeper. It is the consistency they observe. The honesty in your conversations. The calmness under pressure. The way you remain kind without needing recognition. Those qualities are becoming your signature. And signatures cannot be copied. Another interesting thing is beginning to happen. People who once believed they were ahead of you are quietly reconsidering their assumptions. They are realizing that life is not a race measured by appearances alone. True progress is measured by character, wisdom, resilience, and purpose. When those qualities begin shining through someone naturally, comparisons lose their meaning. You might not notice this every day, but others do. They notice the way challenges no longer define your mood. They notice that you smile more genuinely. They notice you seem less distracted by negativity. They notice that you walk into situations with an inner steadiness that wasn't there before. Those observations slowly reshape the way they think about you. Perhaps the greatest surprise isn't that people are shocked by your looks or your age. Perhaps the greatest surprise is that they are finally seeing the person you were becoming all along. And here's something worth remembering as this chapter comes to a close. Never let someone else's old opinion become the limit for your future. People often remember yesterday's version of you because they haven't witnessed the quiet work happening behind the scenes. That doesn't mean your growth isn't real. It simply means your story is unfolding faster than their expectations. The most exciting part is still ahead. Because in the next chapter, you'll discover why this unexpected shift in the way people see you is opening doors that once seemed completely out of reach, and why the next conversation you never expected could become the beginning of an entirely new season in your journey.